What's up, guys? It's Equinox coming back with another video. This time a really basic guide on the general movement options in Smash Ultimate. I know it's been a long time. A lot of stuff has happened in my life since my last video. I graduated, I got a full-time job, and the pandemic happened, so I've been put on a hard delay. But now I'm back. I got a new PC. I'm trying to find time to work on videos between shifts, of my full-time job. So the videos are going to come slower, but now I'm back to working on them. So the next one that I wanted to make was one on movement, and I realized that there wasn't really a good guide out there on just the basic movement options of Smash. There's like some of advanced movement options, and I think there's Ezaw's Art of Smash Beginner that kind of talks about it in a very basic way, but there's really nothing that has all of the information in one place. So I wanted to make a quick video before I make my real movement guide, just describing the different movement options that you have so that you can know the difference. So I'm going to talk about how different movement options, like their pros and cons, how each movement option has some kind of endlag or commitment to it. So each option does have at least one con, and so you need to use your movement effectively just because nothing is free in a multiplayer game. And hurtbox shifting, which I'll get into more when we come to that topic. So first things first, the most basic movement option in Smash Brothers is walking. And all you have to do to begin walking is hold forward, but you don't want to move the stick too quickly. You kind of want to transition from not pushing any direction to pushing left or right a little bit slowly, at least at first. Otherwise, you'll get a different option called the dash, and I'll talk about that next. So walking is really simple. Your character kind of begins moving in one direction and then speeds up. If you hold your stick not all the way, then she might walk a little bit extra slowly. The walk doesn't have any end lag or commitment in the general sense that you might think about it, like how moves have a period after where you use them, where you can't block or do anything. Walking doesn't have that. If you're walking, then you have all of your options available to you. And so in that sense, it doesn't have any kind of commitment to it. Like you can walk up to your opponent and shield at any point. As soon as you see a move come out, you can start walking backwards, no problem. The commitment comes in the stage sense, where you can see I'm in the middle of the stage right now. If I walk backwards or away from my opponent, then I'm giving up stage. Like I'm letting my opponent control more of the stage, and now I have less to control. If I'm walking towards my opponent, then I'm getting closer, getting more in range for them to attack me before I can react and block. So even if it's just walking, there is some kind of commitment to it. You don't want to just walk for free. You want to, make it intentional. And then after walking, there is dashing. If you input your left and right on your controller quickly, then you will dash instead of walking. And dashing is obviously much faster than walking, but it comes at the cost of actually having end lag to it. So let me slow down. I'm going to dash and then hold shield, and you'll see I cannot shield immediately. I pressed shield as soon as if I do it too fast, then I do a forward roll. I dash and then I hold shield. It doesn't happen immediately. If you dash, then there is a period of time where you cannot defend yourself. Your only options during the middle of a dash are to dash attack, dash grab, or jump. Oh, I'm holding down the jump button. Or dash and then jump. Those are the only things you can do in the middle of your dash. So you cannot defend yourself if you're dashing while you're moving quickly away or towards your opponent. So you have that same aspect of potentially cornering yourself if you dash away, or potentially running into the range of an attack if you dash forward, and you can't defend yourself. You could dash attack. You could maybe dash at close range into a dash attack, but that's aggressive. You could get blocked, all that. So dashing needs to be used more wisely than walking, just because there's more of an opportunity for your opponent to hit you. When you combine a dash and a jump, then you're instantly moving full speed in the air instead of having to jump from a standstill and then gradually speed up. When you dash and then you jump, then you're instantly moving full airspeed. And there's one other thing that you can do with this. If you turn around mid-jump, or if you input backwards before you input your jump, then you will enter the air facing backwards. So you can see, let me see, zoom, half speed. See, I'm going to dash forward, input to the left, and then jump. Let's see. Oh, for some reason, I'm not getting it in half speed. So I'll have to do it in frame by frame. So you can see I'm going to dash forward and input jump, but I'm inputting backwards before I leave the ground. So you can see I'm getting a backwards jump. And that's called a reverse aerial rush, just because it's usually used in tandem with a back air, so that you can dash towards the opponent and then instantly back air them. So it's usually really useful for killing, but it is also useful for movement in some ways, because your jump animations for jumping forwards and jumping backwards are different. So you can see when I jump forward, I kind of spin into a ball. My legs kind of linger beneath me before I pull them up. If I jump backwards, then I lift my legs up instantly in a backflip. So that animation can make things make a big difference in very small situations. So I just wanted to make sure that I mentioned that as well. It's usually called a reverse aerial rush, or an RAR. People usually just say RAR. At the very, very beginning of your dash, you can combine other movement options. These aren't usually used in real gameplay, but at least not intentionally, but I wanted to mention them. So at the very beginning of your dash, you can input backwards to instantly begin a dash in the opposite direction. Some people use this just to fake out their opponent. You can do it to look cool. Not really used for movement. You can dash and then roll, or dash and then input shield in a direction to instantly roll. But this really has no advantage over just normally rolling, except for maybe a little bit more distance on a forward roll. Otherwise, really not a big deal. So third, after you dash, then you transition, if you hold the direction, into something called a run, which is different than dashing. If you hold forward on your control stick after pressing forward quickly, then the beginning is called a dash. Afterwards comes running. And running at your opponent from long distance is kind of like walking, but just faster, because you have pretty much all of your options available to you. If you run, you can run into instant shield, you can run into jabbing or any other attack, but that has an extra step to it. You can run into jump, you can run into a dodge or into a spot dodge. If you want to dash into an attack, though, it takes an extra step. If you begin running, then release your joystick, then you will transition into an animation called a skid. Let me put that in just slow motion. Into a skid, where you can see she kind of has to stop for a little bit, and she's still moving forward just a little slowly. You can cancel that animation into whatever. So if I run and then I begin skidding, I can just press A and as a reminder, you begin skidding by releasing the joystick. You return it to neutral, to the middle. After I do that, then I can just press A and jab. I can release it and then use my C stick to begin a forward tilt. I can do it into F tilt. I can do it into a forward smash. Anything, really. So if you're running at your opponent from long range, then you can just run into a forward smash or into a down tilt or whatever. So running at your opponent from long range is a whole lot safer than dashing from close range, because you don't have to go through the period of the dash where you can't do anything. Let's see. Third grounded movement option, rolling. Rolling is used a lot by lower level players and less by higher level players, so a lot of people think of it as a scrubby option, but it has its uses, and even high level players do use it occasionally. So first things first, about rolls, there are two different kinds. There's a forward roll, and then there is a backwards roll. They are two different animations, but what they both have in common is that they have invincibility, or the proper name for it is intangibility. If I begin my roll, you can see I begin moving, and then after a few frames, I'm turning blue. And in training mode, when you turn on invincibility, intangibility shows up as the character being blue. So right now I am intangible, which means that my opponent cannot hit me until the end of my roll, or close to the end of my roll. So you're moving, you're covering distance while the opponent is not able to hit you for a short period, so you can use it to move through attacks. You cannot run through your opponent, but you can roll through them, so it can be used to get behind your opponent. But if your opponent is ready for it, if they're expecting it, then they can very much punish it, because they do have some lag on them. You can see the intangibility has just stopped. I'm going to start holding shield, and there's quite a bit of time before the shield actually comes out. So similar to dashing, but even more vulnerable. You can get punished for using your rolls poorly, and it's really not advised to use them to actually cover distance. You really just want to use them to dodge attacks or to get behind your opponent. And you really don't want to use them a lot, especially in quick succession, because a new mechanic in Smash Ultimate is dodge scaling, where the more you use your dodges, so spot dodges or rolls, the slower they get. You can see my animation is a whole lot slower than it just was, because I had just used a whole lot of spot dodges, and then I just began rolling. So you can see like one roll versus slowing down. So you really don't want to use them in quick succession. Now onto aerial movement options. You have two kinds of jumps, or three if you count your double jump, but two kinds of jumps that you can do from the ground. There is the full hop, which is the higher version, and there's the short hop, which is the lower version. The difference between the two is that to do a full hop, you need to press your jump, and then you hold it, and then I do a full hop. If you want to do a short hop, then there are a few different ways, but typically it's thought of as pressing your jump and then releasing it very quickly. So if you release it before you leave the ground, then you'll get your short hop. There are two other ways to do it. You have the 2 jump button macro. It was patched into the game shortly after it was released, but I don't think there's any real records of it in the game itself. If you have 2 jump buttons, and if you have more or less default controls, then the X and Y buttons should both be mapped to jump. If you use both of them at the same time to jump, then you'll get a short hop. The third way is to hold an attack, to buffer an attack out of your jump. So right now I'm holding my jump button down, but because I'm also holding attack, I'm doing a short hop every time, and I'm instantly doing that aerial that matches the direction as soon as I leave the ground. Forgot to mention that as soon as you're in the air, it isn't allowed when you're still moving up, but as soon as you start moving down, you can input down on your joystick to fast fall. So let me zoom in. I input down when I'm beginning to fall, and you can see the spark shows up, and I begin falling much faster. So you can use that to jump and then get back to the ground faster, so that you're not in the air for as long, which is useful because usually you don't want to be in the air for too long. Your opponent can just jump and hit you, or use a big attack to hit you. Being in the air is a whole lot different than being on the ground. On the ground, you can shield, spot dodge, roll. In the air, all you have to defend yourself is to air dodge. So there's two different kinds of air dodges. If you press shield when you're in the air and you're not holding a direction, then you'll just kind of fall. It's similar to a spot dodge in that there's 1 or maybe 2 frames at the beginning where they can hit you and then you're intangible. And now you're just falling down. And then there's some frames afterwards. You can see I'm going to stop being blue right before I touch the ground. If there wasn't ground underneath me, then I would just be in lag a whole lot longer. Like, I can't do anything right now. I'm in the end lag of my air dodge. And they have end lag when you hit the ground. So you can see I air dodged into the ground, and I was holding shield that whole time. So that was the earliest I could shield. So that is very easy for the opponent to trap. If they try to attack you in the air and you use your air dodge to dodge it, then a whole lot of times people can just fall and then hit you or grab you as soon as you land. The second kind of air dodge is directional. So this one has the bonus, the pro of being able to, quickly change your direction in the air. You can do it in 8 directions, the 4 main directions, and then diagonals. But it has the con of being a whole lot laggier than a normal air dodge. So you can see I did a full hop into a neutral air dodge, and I could jump, slightly below ledge. If I do a full hop into a directional air dodge, then I'm falling for a lot longer. So it's even easier for your opponent to trap you, and if there's no ground underneath you, then it can be really hard for a lot of characters to recover after that. So those are what your defensive options in the air are limited to. Those dodges and then spending your double jump. So your double jump is another option that you can only do in the air. You can just, anytime you're in the air, you can only do it once. You have 1 double jump until you hit the ground again or snap to the ledge, basically until you reach the stage again. And you can just use that anytime you want to just jump again. And it might be useful in movement because you can jump forward and then jump backwards. You can jump backward and then jump forward. You can use it to instantly change your direction. If you don't use your double jump, then you kind of have to transition from one direction to another. So maybe not convenient for every situation. But once again, you can only do it once. If I mash jump, then you can see nothing happens. As soon as I grab ledge, I can do it again. Or as soon as I touch the ground, I can do it again. So once you reach the stage, you get your double jump back. As far as movement goes, directional air dodges are not as good in this game as they were in Melee, which is the last time they were available in a Smash game. In Melee, they would put you in helpless, so you would just not be able to do anything if you used it in the air. You would directional air dodge, and then you would just fall and die. In this game, even though they are laggy, you can still do stuff after them. That's not really useful for movement, though, just because they are so laggy. Another comparison to Melee is that in Melee, when you did a directional air dodge into the ground, you could instantly act out of it, and that's called a wave dash. You could jump, and then as soon as you leave the ground, you directional air dodge into the ground, so then you're kind of like sliding forward or sliding backward, and you can just do whatever you want out of it. In this game, they have quite a bit of end lag, so not as useful for that purpose. They are sometimes combined with platforms. You can full hop and then directional air dodge onto a platform just to reach it faster, because otherwise you would need to finish your jump and then come back down. So you can use your full hop, which most characters need to do to, actually every character needs to do to reach these platforms. Short hops won't get you on top of them. So you can full hop and then kind of get onto the platform faster by directionally air dodging downwards. You can cross up your opponent by like jumping and then very quickly inputting a sideways directional air dodge, but I don't recommend that. Another interesting thing is on platforms, you can press down to try and drop through a platform and then do a directional air dodge to just really quickly slide. If I can really quickly slide without having to jump first. But again, it's kind of niche. You don't really see this used at high level play. It's mostly just for people trying to make themselves look cool. Another more advanced movement option that I just wanted to talk about really briefly is special reversals. So usually shortened to B reversal, since B is the button most people use to do their special moves. You can see I can jump and move forward while doing my special move. This is my neutral special, paralyzer shot. If you input special while you're in the air and then you almost instantly start holding behind you, then your character will start doing the special in the opposite direction and also reverse the direction that they're moving. So you can be moving to the right and then really quickly switch to moving to the left. You can do this in the air. It can be useful to try and land on an opponent when they're on the ground and you're in the air. You can kind of mix them up, like fake like you're going to the right and then go to the left. In neutral, when you're both just trying to hit each other, one way that I see it used a lot is to kind of like fake that you're retreating, that you're going away from them, and then really quickly changing your direction so that you can like use it towards the opponent instead. There's a more complicated version of this called a wave bounce, where you kind of do this twice so that you change the direction that you're using the move in twice. So you're doing a 360, but your direction does a 180. So you can like jump to the right while doing your attack to the right, and then suddenly you're moving to the left while still doing your attack to the right. I'm going to link a guide to that just because I don't want to take the time to explain it all here. But long story short, it's pretty hard, but there are more advanced ways to make it easier. It usually takes some practice, though. So those are the movement options that are available to every character in Smash Bros. Some characters will have unique special moves that can be used as movement options, like Zero Suit has Flip Jump. Diddy Kong has his Side B, Monkey Flip. Fox and Falco have Fox Illusion, Falco Phantasm for their Side Bs. And then every character can crouch, but not every character can crawl. Crawling is another movement option that not every character will have. You can shield immediately out of crawl. You can do your attacks. You can jump out of it. So it's kind of like walking, except your character is lower to the ground, but it's usually a lot slower than their walk. And you also need to take the time to crouch first. So it doesn't start moving you forward instantly. Okay, now that I have covered all the movement options that I wanted to cover, I also wanted to mention hurtbox shifting, because whenever you choose an action that puts your character into a new animation, there's things to consider about that animation. So, for example, Zero Suit standing here, fairly vertical, like her hurtbox right now is kind of like a skinny rectangle. If I begin walking, or I guess that's dash, if I begin walking, you can see that she sticks her leg behind her, just because, it's pretty normal for a walk. So that means that if I want to, start walking away from my opponent, I should also consider the fact that when I move away from them, my leg gets stuck out towards them just for a little bit. And this gets really bad with a character like Charizard, who sticks his tail out and sticks his head out. So he gets a lot wider when he starts walking or running, especially running. And these kinds of things happen with every animation. So, for example, I had the example earlier of a forward jump where you can see she kind of like lets her leg dangle beneath her before she pulls it up into a ball. And her letting that leg dangle beneath her means that it's a whole lot easier for the opponent to swing at the ground and still hit her after she jumps. If she does a backwards jump, then she lifts her leg up a lot faster. It makes, and then you can see she's now like a horizontal rectangle, as opposed to in about the same amount of time that leg is still down there. So I don't have time to go over every character's animations, but it is worth just taking a look at your character's animations and seeing what they actually do with their body. That could make it easier or harder for the opponent to hit you when you use that different option. So like One thing that is really underused by beginner players, mid-level players, is kind of a 50-50 between lowering your hurtbox with crouching or crawling. You can see how low Zero Suit gets versus removing your hitbox from the ground by jumping. So her hurtbox between jumping and between crawling are in completely different places. So if you crouch and your opponent wants to hit you with like a down tilt or something that's near the ground and then you jump, it'll miss and you could get yourself an opportunity to hit them. Alright, so I've got Charizard now instead of Zero Suit, and he's a big boy. He's a lot bigger than Zero Suit and a whole lot of other characters. But his animations make him even bigger. So let me switch this to one frame. So you can see, like, right now his animation is kind of like a triangle, or I guess a parallelogram. But the point is that you can see I can comfortably fit under this platform. Now, if I begin a dash with Charizard, his whole tail gets stuck out and his head gets stuck out as far as they can. So I'm now immediately a whole lot wider. I have now stretched completely towards the opponent and away from the opponent. So if I'm like dashing away from Piranha Plant, they still have the opportunity to hit that tail, which is still where I was for a good amount of time. Or if I dash towards my opponent, I am now sticking my head out towards them and immediately making myself easier to hit if they just throw out an attack. So you can see like the difference between maybe using up half or maybe a little over half of the platform versus dashing under it. I'm now going to use the entire length of the platform and then some. So this is an example of a bad animation during movement that may make you want to consider other options. Now I'm going to cut to a different character who has a great example of good hurtbox shifting during his movement options. As you can see, the character I was talking about was Inkling. Now, Inkling's walk is really nothing to write home about. The roll isn't too special since everybody goes intangible anyways, but Inkling's dash is incredible just because of what happens with his hurtbox. You can see as soon as I dash, he squishes into squid form and he kind of hops up and down. But the fact that during the beginning of his dash, he is literally in the ground makes his dash so beneficial for movement just because it becomes much harder to hit him. So Inkling players would dash all over the place. And even when he's running, his moving up and down, his hurtbox is actually still on the ground. It's a little deceptive. So his hurtbox gets lower than his crawl just when he dashes, and he can dash under different attacks. It can be kind of hard to see which direction he's actually moving. So this is an example of a hurtbox that greatly benefits the movement option. So I just wanted to show you these examples of good and bad movement options with in terms of hurtboxes, just so that you can get an example and maybe compare it to your own character. Like I just saw happen to get Mewtwo on random here, so I can show you another example of bad hurtboxes. Man, look at that! Look at that tail. Why are you jumping? Why are you jumping? That's weird. There you go. Look at that tail. Every action he does makes his tail just fly around, and that's a hurtbox that you can hit. So Mewtwo needs to be extra careful when he's moving around, just because the tail makes him actually easier to hit when he's moving, as opposed to Inkling's dash, making him harder to hit when he's moving. So there you go. Some good and bad examples of both hitbox and hurtbox shifting, and a discussion about the different commitment that all of the movement options have in Smash Brothers. Hopefully somebody finds this helpful. I just wanted to make this really quick as kind of like a prologue to the actual movement guide that I'm making. I'm planning on getting that out by the end of this month, but it might be early December. However, I hope you'll look forward to it. I'm pretty proud of the script that I came up with, and I think that a lot of people will find it helpful. So, thanks for watching. and hope to see you in the next video. This is Equinox signing out.